Hello plant friends, and welcome back to Scott Grows an Avocado Tree, the channel where I'm trying to grow an avocado tree from seed to the point of bearing fruit and documenting the process. And in the meantime, we'll talk about avocados and other different plants. Today, we have got a brand new series on this channel. Recently, I asked for your avocado questions, and I'm going to go about answering them. Today, I have got the first question that I'm going to answer in this brand new series called Ask Scott. Here is the intro. If you've got avocado problems, ask Scott. Today's question comes from Instagram user Itty Bitty Ladybug, who writes, "Hi Scott, I'm in California and rooted a seed which is still in water. It was an avocado from my neighbour, so I'm not sure what variety it is. So thank you very much, Itty Bitty Ladybug. Let's answer your question. Anyone who has successfully germinated and grown an avocado sapling in water has come across the question, what do I plant it in now that it's ready to go into soil? And there are some things which we can do which are really helpful, and on the other hand, there are some things that we can do which are really, really unhelpful and will kill your tree in a matter of weeks or months. So we want the right type of soil, which will help our tree to grow into a healthy, productive tree. So let's talk about avocado soil. Avocado trees love well-draining, aerated soil. If water sticks around their roots for too long, the tree becomes starved of oxygen, and that can lead to a range of problems. The most common one of those is root rot, which is caused by a range of fungi and algae who grow in low oxygen environments that are damp as well, such as poorly draining soil, which will eat away at the roots, which will kill the tree very quickly. Common symptoms of root rot begin by a browning of the outside of the leaf of a tree, to more extreme cases such as severe leaf drop, where a tree will basically shed its leaves because it can't bring water to them because the systems in place to drawing in water have been destroyed by fungus, to the tree dying. And I have had a tree die of root rot, and I have learned my lesson, and I have shown you how to save an avocado tree from root rot, and I will leave a link to that video in the description below. So we need to come up with some soil which is freely draining and well aerated. But that's not all that we can use. Now, avocado trees I've had experience with just using those kind of components which will have it drained freely with lots of success, but avocado trees actually really enjoy slightly acidic soil. And so we can adjust our soil recipe so that it is a bit more acidic than just normal potting mix would be. So with freely draining aerated soil that is slightly acidic in mind, let's create some soil. Now, there are lots of recipes out there for this, and many people have got different opinions. I'm going to share what has worked from my experience, but if something else works for you, that's fantastic. You could also use a freely draining potting mix such as like a cactus or succulent mix. That would be fine. But today I'm going to create my own. I have been experimenting for the last little while, and I've used sand in addition to regular potting mix with a lot of success. My 48 avocado seeds, which I've grown very well, all have just a potting mix and sand base, and lots of my other older trees, which I started doing earlier, they all have sand in their potting mix as well. But I'm starting to experiment, and I've had a lot more success actually with using perlite instead of sand. So that's part of what we're going to do today. To make the soil a little more acidic, I'm going to use peat moss, which will also assist in our aeration of the soil. So the first ingredient I'm going to talk about is peat moss. Now, this is peat moss. So this will lower the pH levels, which will raise the acidity levels of the soil, and it also assists with the aeration of the soil. So that's my first ingredient. The second ingredient is perlite. And here we are. Perlite is another naturally occurring ingredient which has almost no water retention properties. Water just runs straight through it, which means it is fantastic for assisting the drainage of our soil. And as I said, I have used sand for this purpose in the past, which I have had some success with, but I'm finding that this is a lot more reliable, though it is a bit more expensive to use. And of course, the final ingredient is just regular cheap potting mix. This is one of the cheapest ones I could find. It was like $4 for a 25-litre bag, and this is going to be the rest of our potting mix. So I've been experimenting with a mix of 1 part potting mix, 1 part perlite, and 1 part peat moss, and I'm having some great success with that. So let's mix up this soil now. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to use 1 part of each. So I'm just going to put them in this mixing bowl, and I'm just going to mix them with my hands. There we go. So 1 part potting mix, 1 part perlite, and 1 part peat moss. And I can just mix that around in through just like that. Just get my hands through there, give it a good mix. And actually, I've had a bit of experience. I've been using this with a bit with my other houseplants, and they seem to be real, especially the acidity loving ones, and they seem to be really enjoying this. And there we have it. This is a lovely fluffy mix, which is going to drain really easily, and it's going to be well aerated as well. The peat moss will retain some moisture, but it still has lots of gaps for the water to flow through, and so there'll always be that oxygen in the soil as well. In the future, I'm actually keen to switch up my potting mix with worm castings, as my worm farm is getting close to me being able to harvest some worm castings. But at the moment, that is a beautiful mix for avocados, which will drain freely and is well aerated and has a slightly acidic pH level. Now let's not quite finish up yet, because we've got a fantastic soil, but if we're putting it in the wrong container, or if we're watering it unwisely, we're going to run into issues as well. So avocados love well draining soil, so I shouldn't really need to say, but I will, that they need well draining containers. They certainly need holes in the container. I would not dare to plant an avocado tree in a non-draining pot. There are lots of houseplants that I'm happy to put in a non-draining pot and just keep an eye on the moisture levels, but avocados are not one of those. It's just too risky. They are super susceptible to root rot. It can happen really, really quickly, and so well-draining pot is essential. I really love terracotta. Just the porous material really wicks away any moisture anyway, and it will run out at the bottom if it's got a hole. So I love using terracotta for my avocados. My outdoor ones, I've mostly got them in plastic, which works well as well, as long as they've got lots of drainage holes. But what about the watering? So once we've got this wonderful mix, we've got it in a well-draining pot, we need to water it wisely. Now, avocados, they come from areas, so they originate in Mexico, and they do really well in Mediterranean areas, which don't get a ton of rain. So they don't need a lot of water. But when do you water an avocado tree? Now, I know my trees pretty well, and when they start drooping, that's a pretty good indicator that they need a water. But I don't just go on site alone. Avocado leaves will start drooping as well if they are dying because of root rot. So that's not the best indicator alone. So you need to be testing the soil level, and you could do a finger check by just sticking your finger in. If it's dry, you're ready to water. But I prefer to use a moisture meter. Now, this has been one of my favorite tools to use for my houseplants, certainly. When I stick this in the soil, it will measure the water levels and it will give me an indicator. I only water when the probe tells me that the soil is dry. This has been one of my favorite tools. This was only about $12, and if you're looking to keep really healthy houseplants, let alone avocado trees, you really should get yourself one of these, because it saves me a lot of anxiety, because I know exactly how wet the soil is and I know when or when not to water. Now, itty bitty ladybug, you also mentioned in your question to me about that you didn't know what variety of avocado that is that you're growing. And I'm not going to speak too much about that today, because this is mostly about the soil we're using. But avocados are not true to seed. So if you take a seed from a Hass avocado and grow it, the fruit from the next tree will not be like the Hass avocado. There'll be avocados if they grow avocados, but they won't be the same as that Hass that it came from. So when you plant an avocado seed, it's not going to grow the same variety from the tree that it came from. And I'm going to go into more detail about that, because I think that's just fascinating, in the future. But for today, we have made some fantastic beautiful, well-draining, aerated, slightly acidic soil for our avocado trees. I've told you about what kind of pots you should use and how to make sure you water them excellently. If you have a question about growing an avocado tree, please do contact me on Instagram at ScottGrowsAnAvocadoTree, and I will do my best to answer your question. I've got a few other questions that I need to get to answering in videos, and I think we're going to learn some fantastic things about growing avocado trees. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please let me know by hitting that like button down below. I'd love to hear from you in the comments as well, and please make sure you are subscribed to Scott Grows an Avocado Tree and have turned on notifications so as not to miss any avocado updates. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree.